Hello, hello, hello. And I am Laquita Chancey, and this is Shared Space and Chat. How you doing today, brother?
We're doing well today. Have a long day. I've got a lot going on. Just some announcements, real quick. Next, first I should probably turn my phone off. Next Saturday, the 19th, we have a community effort in Southeast Baltimore. We'll be setting up shop at Cesar Romero's Cafe on Bank and Cornwall. We'll be giving out some hygiene products, lunches to go, hot lunches. We'll have some bread coin out there to bring out to the community. What else? Clothing, some winter clothes, some nice business casual stuff, just a bunch of different things for the community. And we'll also be using that home base to satellite out to other communities where there is need. And we know people are experiencing homelessness and making sure that we reach the Southeast February the 19th. Trying to think if there's anything else. You have anything else coming up?
Yeah, so one thing is The Black Butterfly, which is a book about Baltimore City, Baltimore homes, and your girl Laquita Chancey is mentioned in here. So I wanted to make sure that I mentioned this during Black History Month. Okay, that is written by Dr. Lawrence Brown. He is my Morehouse brother. I went to Spelman, so we always Spellhouse love, that type of thing. And then there's also a poetry book coming out called Speak Up, and it closely mirrors pivotal points in life, including love, breakups, family, learning oneself. So I really want to promote a bunch of authors. So Black authors, this is the perfect quick read, relatable for women that, things that we experience but don't speak up, and it's available on Amazon. And then there's another author that I wanted to promote. Oh, and I cannot remember the name of the book. I'll have it by the end of the show.
Okay.
And so also, you mentioned the event on February 19th, and we're still doing the food distribution at 2555 Harford Road every Saturday morning. Line up at 10 a.m.
That's right. With Creative Influence.
With Creative Influence, as well as
Rise City.
Rise City is out there. Reach Partnerships are out there. Braid Her is out there. So come out there in community with folks each and every time. And then Rise City on Sunday. So yeah, so Chap, introduce our guests.
So our guest today, I will mention that we met through the Baltimore City Police Department Volunteer Chaplain program. I will say that today we're not speaking or representing any opinions of the city or in that capacity, but that we do serve in that capacity, and that's how we met. Flo and James Long. And if you guys want to reintroduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about what you've been doing in the community.
Hi, my name is Florentina, and everybody calls me Flo. And this is my wonderful husband, James Long. And we are gospel aerobics and more. And like he said, we are also part of the Baltimore City Chaplaincy program that work along with the police department when they go out and do walks through the communities. And we do other things. We do help with the community giveaways. And, we do many other things. We teach low impact, high intensity exercise. And we go to different kinds of groups all through Baltimore City. We're contracted through different companies, but we also work under Baltimore City a senior division at Patterson Park.
Oh, you guys are Patterson.
Also, too, gospel aerobics and more. We specialize in exercising to gospel music. We've been in existence at least almost 35, 40 years now, teaching exercise. We teach children, we teach seniors, we teach middle age, and we do all types of classes. And we have fun.
Right. Yes, so if I wanted to come out and join one of the classes, how would I find you guys? How would I know what your schedule was? How would I know that, I'm fit enough to hop in with you all?
Okay, what we do is we have our phone number that we get people to call us because we don't have a location right now at the present time. But when we teach exercise, we're at the Zeta Center on
Okay.
Wrightstown Road. And we're there. What days are we there?
We're there Wednesdays and Thursdays. We actually, because of the pandemic, it has slowed down, but we start again on March the 3rd. And we're there on Wednesday and Thursday. The first day will be March the 3rd, Wednesday. It'll be at 10, is it 10? It's 11:20 to 12:20. We're there. And
that's awesome.
Join us.
So people can come out in just about 3 weeks. So go ahead and mark your calendars, folks. And you guys will be at the Zeta Center, you said, at what time?
11:20 to 12:20.
Perfect.
And we have a lot of fun.
And also, too, with the senior division of Parks and Recreation, we have a lot of fun with them, too. We have done live virtual classes.
Mm-hmm.
We've done classes in the park outside.
Mm-hmm.
And like she said, we have fun. Also, we have water aerobics, too, where we just splash and have fun and splash and have fun.
Did you guys do a senior walk this year?
Yes, we did.
Yes.
Was it over by what is that? Civic Works and that big old building on the golf course?
The mansion.
I was there. I saw you guys. I met you guys that day, and we got to tour the mansion and everything. That is so. Look at this. Baltimore is Baltimore each and every time, right? Exactly. But that just goes to show that when you're out in the community, we're bound to cross paths because it's necessary. We can't do this work alone. So you're involved with Parks and Recs. You're involved with the mayor's office. You guys have sessions every week starting in March.
With Johns Hopkins too.
Oh, okay. What were you all doing with Hopkins?
We did an actual virtual one with Johns Hopkins, and they had doctors and different people from all parts of the United States, and they had someone. What country was that from?
Australia. Someone
from Australia, a doctor from Australia, and we took them in with exercise. Mm-hmm.
Oh wow,
that is awesome! That is awesome. We were doing a walk with a doc thing when the weather was a little bit better, but virtual walks—that's an idea. That's something we should probably consider.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll tell you, these guys also show up anytime there's a need in the community. I could call them and say, hey, we're handing out or we're bagging up groceries to hand out. And these guys will show up. And I could say, we're doing a community prayer walk and these guys will show up. And what's really funny is that most of the time by the end of whatever we're doing, these guys got somebody in the street exercising, trying to keep up. Am I lying? Like it happens. Like
no, you're not lying. You're telling the truth.
That's right. And the last time, one of my really good memories of you guys is that we were bagging up some food in the southeast actually, and Officer Kelly and your husband James were sitting there having like a little dance off, and he wore her out. She is a 20-something, maybe like I ain't going to age her, but she is a young woman, a young in shape police officer, and he wore her out. He's like, you good? You good, shorty? So these guys are in shape. They are healthy. They're making healthy choices. They're encouraging other people. And you guys do it I swear you guys do it what, 7 days a week? I can't even keep up with you. I know you guys are just all day. And we
work another job too. We work a job. He's downtown and I work at Notre Dame of Maryland University doing security.
Oh, very good.
I'm at the National Aquarium downtown, and excellent. I do security and first responder.
So let me ask you something else, James. Didn't you also? Do you still do the television show? Didn't you used to have a TV show, or you still have?
Yes,
one?
we still have it going on. They're doing reruns right now, but we'll be starting back again soon as they let us in the studio.
So how did you come to do that? Like, tell me a little bit about that background, because I remember you telling me about it when we very first met. and I wasn't even in a space where I was thinking about doing a show like this. Our editor in chief, Doni Glover, bless his heart, and thank him for the opportunity, man. She strong armed me into doing this. He's like, Chap, you need to do a show, this and that. And so like now we're doing it. We've been doing it pretty steady. It's been a blessing and a privilege. How did you get started doing your show, and what is your show about?
Okay, what it's about is a health and wellness show. And we talk about everything to do with health and wellness. We know that February is known as Heart Month, where you have the American Heart Association, you have the Association of Black Cardiologists, and these groups are promoting health and wellness. You know, February is a great month. We talk about heart, health, being well, but the greatest thing that can happen in February is that we carry the love of Christ with us. Amen. And that's the big heart right there.
Yeah.
Excellent. So where can we catch the reruns of your show?
Channel 75 and 99 on
Okay.
Comcast.
Okay.
Public access.
Either Comcast or what is the other one? Verizon?
Yes, bro.
Yeah.
Okay. So I wanted to go, let's go down that road because you guys mentioned it. It's Heart Month. One of the beefs I have with a lot of our politicians who consider themselves community leaders, in my opinion, and, you know, Quida's out here, that's my partner in the community. Sometimes when I'm out there and, we do a lot, and a word that is not vacant from our vocabulary is love. Like, we are out there and it's absent from our politicians' vocabulary. You don't hear Mayor Scott get on there and say, start off the conversation, I love you, right? Like, I think that that's something that's lacking in our community, in the city, or in our culture, is that I don't know if people are afraid to use the word or they don't understand the word. Like, what is, we have two experienced people who, first of all, let's back up. How long have you guys been married?
Well, it'll be 5 years this in September, but
Okay.
we've known each other for 20 some years.
Okay. So that sounds a lot like my story, right? So with my wife as well. So I guess to begin with, before we even talk about that, how do you define love? Because we got to have a common understanding of what the word means before we can discuss it.
Love to me is understanding, caring, patience, knowing how to talk about it. And that's part of love. The biggest thing about love is patience. That's the biggest thing. You have to have patience because we're all human beings and we're all different.
But patience takes time. I'm in a hurry.
But hurry makes mistakes.
Okay.
So that's the key. You want to hurry up and get this over with. You want to argue. Oh, okay. But that's not love. Love is sitting down and discussing it. Trying to learn about each other. I work as a security officer at Notre Dame of Maryland University. But to me, I like to know who I'm protecting. I walk through the halls. I actually go in and get to know the people as I'm patrolling. And that's part of it. Everybody doesn't believe that. But that's what love's all about, is getting to know your environment and who you're around. And there are situations where you can't do that, like certain neighborhoods, but at the same time, you can smile at a person. You can understand where they're coming from when they do things. So all of that plays a role in love.
Man, to me, love is when you can look at a person and see the same beauty that you saw the first day you met
There
that
you go.
person.
There you go.
Ooh, okay.
Good times and bad times.
And believe me, he does express it. He does.
That is amazing. So I'll tell you, when I was a kid, my dad beat the breath out of me on this. He used to always tell me, love is discipline. It's not a feeling.
That's part of it.
Yes,
Yes.
that's part
Yes.
Yeah, he'd always tell me that. And then the other thing was, and of course, my own mind and experience evolves from these base thoughts. But love was a discipline, and love was a intentional sacrifice.
Mhm.
There you go.
Can I elaborate on that?
Please help me out.
Okay. I told my daughter one time, she was 10 years old, and she decided she wanted to, without us knowing, take a Pez and an ink pen from a pharmacy. And when I got home, after I got through showing my love, I explained to her, I said, I'd rather do this to you than for you to grow up and end up in jail, dead, or hurt, or lost. You know, and that's why part of love is discipline. Because if you care about your children, then you're going to correct them so that they go the right path. Because correction is a new direction. So basically, that's it.
I love that. I love that. And I love that you said that love is patient, because to your point, like, James, when we see, someone that we love, we can see what we love about them. But there are times when we really got to look for that love. We got to search for it. We have to find it. And it's that patience and recognizing that sometimes we may not agree, but we still can get along. We can agree to disagree. I can be empathetic to your feelings, even though it's not a feeling that I've felt before. And I think those are the things that, really speak to love, when we understand that, I don't have to completely understand all that it is that makes you you, but I love you.
Yep.
And that's just it, like that's it.
And like Flo, you're sharing how you even on the job, you walk and you meet people and you intentionally, even something simple as a smile. It's a lifestyle, right? Love is a lifestyle.
Yes.
When you guys mention the love of Christ,
There you go.
He is the ultimate source, right? So you can't outgive God.
Right.
My
mother taught me to love. My mother told me that you do to people like you want people to do to you.
Absolutely.
And I feel like some people, if you compartmentalize love, or you have if you're misinformed, or your definition is skewed from what it's intended to be by any means, then your life becomes skewed, because you're not fulfilling it. It's like using a toaster that's not plugged in; it doesn't work. And so, if you're not plugged into the source and understand God's love, then whatever you got to give, it's not genuine, or it's in limited supply. And when it runs out, you're going to find yourself exhausted and frustrated. And I always joke with people, because my last name is Loveless, and people were like, "That's really your last name?" And I'm like, "Yeah, well, I give it all away." I give it all away, so I'm out. But then it leads to the conversation of that. Yes, but I surround myself with godly people, and I understand the truth that's in the Bible, and that's my truth. And so I actually have a limitless supply of love, and it looks different. It looks different everywhere you go. It could look like, maybe me giving, maybe me helping feed somebody who's experiencing hunger. It could also look like me giving you a stern look and telling you no when you ask me for money for a coffee. And I'll share an experience me and my son had last night. My son is very kind, very polite. My son, Vershawn, the youngest, he is a people pleaser. Yes, sir. No, sir. He will go out of his way to hold a door for you, or he's too much. He's too nice, man. We tell him that, but that's his nature, and I don't discourage it. And we were at the farm store, and this one guy came up, and I hadn't even gotten in my car yet. This guy's walking towards me hard. He's like, "Hey, I need money," blah, 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 and he's beating me up for money. And I just looked at him, and I gave him the look, and I'm like, "No." I gave him a stern no, right? And we went in the store, and when we came back out, man, that guy came up to me and my son. He said, "Look, man, I'm sorry. That was disrespectful of me. Please forgive me." And I was like, "I forgive you." Then I learned his name, Mr. Larry. And me and Mr. Larry had a little talk. And although I didn't, give him what he asked for, we were able to have a conversation and begin a relationship because I said no. So sometimes no is love. Like you were sharing. Yep. So
Yeah, to that point, Chap, like love does have limits. And I think that that's also a part of love. Like we have to recognize when we feel like we're enabling somebody or
Right.
we're not listening to somebody. I think, love, it goes both ways and we have to look internally as well as externally. Like, hey, you're not how you usually are. Like what's going on? And is there something that you want to talk about? Because sometimes people don't take the time to look at themselves. They're too busy giving out all the love to everybody else. They're out here loveless like Chad. And another thing that I was thinking about, I think Miss Flo said something about speaking to your neighbors and
Hmm.
speaking to people and saying hi. I say
Right.
that all the time. My neighbors often look at me like I'm crazy because I'm like, hey, what's been going on? And then wait for an answer. And they're like, oh,
Hmm.
you're not going to say it and hop in your car because, you didn't really want to engage in conversation. I'm
Hmm.
like, no, I got time. What's up? Y'all good today? Like, I'm going over here to a produce. Y'all need some food? Are y'all good? And just checking on folks. And half the time they don't know my name and I don't know their name, but
Hmm.
we speak each and every time we see each other.
Hmm.
Like I know which house you live in. I know if something is going on, you're my neighbor. And that's something that we need to keep in mind. And so it's always about the love of the neighbors, the community, all of it. So I love that.
and I don't know if you guys are seeing what I'm seeing, but as we're speaking with Flo and James, you guys really obviously you have experience and age. I see the grays on you there, Mr. James, but there's a youthfulness to you, right? There's a youthfulness to you that you can obviously see when you guys are together, and even when you're not. Um, and I think that comes from investing in each other, like you said, and the investment in each other is more than just. It's not transactional. It's not like I don't know. Like you guys tell me, like what's the dynamic in your relationship that you said patience was a big one, right?
Hmm. Yes,
Communicating was
yes.
a big one. So for younger people who may be watching or will come back and watch, how do you in today's culture, how do you slow down? How do you slow down? Because I think it's easier for myself and perhaps for you guys because we're more mature. But what advice would we give to younger people to help them intentionally slow down and just breathe in and absorb relationships? Like you invest time in people and really marinate in that time and appreciate it and let it develop into better relationships. How do we slow them down?
Well, I think the key is, I know when I was young, uh, the main key is what kind of parenting are you getting, and then two, uh, a lot of times when you're young, even though my mother had me in church all the time, you're not focusing on that. But the thing about it is we have to get out there and we have to understand the young people. We have to remember where we were when we were young. And the key is to not disrespect them, because a lot of older people now forget that they were young themselves. And instead of criticizing so much, go out there and talk to them, show them some love, let them know what love is all about. But once you show them the love, then you can squeeze in the conversation about the love of God, because that's what they're lacking. They need to know someone loves them and cares about them, because without that, all they see is fun, bling, bling. Oh, this one's cool, that one's cool. Without that love, that's all they see, because that's all I saw when I was younger. And I had a very hard head when I was younger. But I knew
Well,
what I was supposed to be doing. So
to
the
to
people out there, talk to them, pray for them, because it's harder now than when we were younger.
it's faster too.
Yeah, now with me, I had from experience, I grew up and I had a very loving atmosphere that I was in. I had the opportunity of knowing my great grandmother, my grandparents, on both sides, and they showed nothing but love. I also had the privilege of growing up in the church. They showed nothing but love. They saw us doing something wrong, they would tell us. We had members of our church that were police officers, members that worked in politics, and they would tell you and lead you and show you the proper direction and give you the guidance that you needed. Also, good programs was needed in the churches too to show a little love. Once upon a time, they had a basketball league called the Christian Fellowship Basketball League. We played all through the state of Maryland and the different churches, and you could not play unless you went to Bible study.
Hey.
No matter how good you were, you could not play unless you went to Bible study. Then on the same time, it kept you to have good conduct when you got on the basketball court. You know, you didn't have a lot of language and you didn't have a lot of things.
There's discipline.
And like she said,
I mean, not only that, like, let's talk about how it fills in the literacy gap that Baltimore City schools doesn't fill each time. Like, half the people who graduate can't actually read at a 12th grade.
Don't get me started. That's a whole nother show, man.
Yes, that is. Yes. That's
77%. They did a test at one of the high schools. I won't name it because it's my beloved high school that I serve, but 77% of the high schoolers read at a 4th grade or lower level.
And guess what? My teachers who teach in the 4th and 3rd grade, those kids are reading at an even lower level, but they have to base, you know what? We're not going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about love today.
When are you guys writing your book? You guys got books out?
Well, I have one that's written, but I don't have the money to get it published. A book of spiritual poetry. But yeah.
Oh, okay. We're going to get that published. Don't worry about that.
Right. If you already figured out how to write it, we can self-publish on Amazon or Lulu or Etsy. Yep. We're gonna get you out here so that people can go to a website and download it.
Would y'all like a sample of what I did?
Of course.
Privileged.
The name of the book is Get Back to Covenant. And it goes like this. First he took the earth and touched it with his love. Then he took the rain, so pure from heaven above, wrapped it in his mercy, molded it in his hands, shaped it in his image, fashioned it as only he can. Then he took a look and saw what he had done, stepped back some more and said, this shall be my son. Blessed it with his spirit, covenanted with his blood, gave to it a covenant and said, now you prove your love. But still he wasn't finished, proving who he is, because he gave his only son just so we could live. My, what a sacrifice. We couldn't even try to match this type of love. This you cannot deny. So now I think it's time we try to give to him the love that he has shown us and cease on all our sins. Let us be more like him and love our fellow man. Get back to gospel covenant and be his sons again. That goes with the name of the book.
Amen.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
And look, I wanted to comment to your point, because now you look, you just got my wheels spinning on that. I was trying to hold on to my thought though, where you were speaking about loving these young people. I want to step back and address that because it's so important, because I was a traumatized kid out of Baltimore, and I make no excuses, and I'm not a victim. But what it took for me to rise above that was someone had to love me. I guess the idea is I could only love to the capacity that I had been shown love.
Right.
And the love that I was shown was damaged and through betrayal and through my trauma. And I had to start over. And so like God had to send people like yourself into my life to love on me, for me to be able to reflect, emulate, and proliferate that love to other people. So when we come across, it helps me in the city a lot to put in context. If you come across someone, for instance, I was on one of my really great anecdotes that I like to share. I was on North Avenue, North and Penn, by the health clinic, and Tori Rose and some other people put together this health fair. But the people that needed the resources didn't care. They weren't at the event, right? So we had to actually go across the street and say, hey, we've got free needles. We've got free STD testing. We've got free condoms. We have, just saying like, look, this stuff is here. Just come through and get it. You don't have to stay and talk about it. And so I met this young lady, and we talked for a minute, and she kind of ran through the vendors and got her stuff and got tested, and then kept it moving. But before she left, something very simple, like a smile. This was pre-COVID, but I gave her and her friend she was with a hug, and I said, "It's good talking to you. I'm glad you got it." Gave him a hug. When I just shared a hug without any. It was just a hug. The lady she broke down crying, and we talked for like another hour and a half because she had shared with me in that moment that no one had just given her a hug in 15 years. Imagine, everyone who sees you and talks to you and touches you, they want something from you, and no one had just given her a hug, and there's more to the story, and you guys have met my wife before. 19 days later, at like 2:30 in the morning, I get a phone call, and this young lady had called me at 2 in the morning. And, I hate using this term, but this is the language I use with my wife. She's like, "Who's calling you at 2:30 in the morning?" I was like, "Oh, it's the hooker from North Avenue." And I told my wife this at 2:30 in the morning, and she just looks at me and she's like, "If I ain't know you better," and just laughed and went back to sleep. And the young lady had reached out to me and stolen a phone because she's supposed to be on blackout because she was in a recovery program. And she couldn't wait to tell me that because I showed her love in a very basic manner, just a hug, she trusted me enough to talk to someone. I said, "Go talk to this person." And then she trusted them enough to get into a program. And then she worked the program, had 19 days clean. And it was just something simple like giving someone else a hug. But
love.
If I hadn't been loved, and if I hadn't been hugged in my trauma, I wouldn't know to do that for someone else.
Right.
Yeah, Chap, that's really interesting. Like 15 years, I can't imagine not giving someone a hug for 5 days. You know what I mean? Like 15 years, that is baffling. And
that was
like,
her truth.
Yeah, that's heart-wrenching though. And I'm so glad that you were there to embrace her and show her love in that way. But what I was going to say is there's a really simple study that says to remain positively and to sustain your mental health, you should have 12 hugs a day. 12. I would have never thought that it's that many, but you have to think to embrace 12 times.
Is that a real study?
Thing. Yes, it's a real thing.
My hug dealer Dougie's over here looking at me like, "I told you so," because this man hugs everything and everybody.
I know Dougie. I've met him a few times before. You know what I mean? I've hugged that fro. So he's on to something. He's on to something. And so it ties back to the baby and a mother and how often they interact. Like all those touching, things are good for human contact. That's love in so many different ways. So I'm so glad that came up on our Love Day conversation, because I've been looking for a way to talk about 12 hugs a day, y'all.
That's right. Hugging is really actually good for you. Sometimes when I see people and they might be real angry and I think they're getting ready to hurt each other, say something that they should not say, I walk over and give them a hug and say, "Hey, everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. Let it go. Let it go and let God come on in. Let it go. Let it go and give it to God." And it diffuses a lot of things. And I love to do it for all my classes. When I teach, I try to hug them all when I get finished teaching.
Well, except during the COVID.
Yeah.
We give them an elbow.
But before the COVID, I would hug them all, give them a hug.
Another important thing while we're talking about love also is you have to listen. You have to listen.
Okay.
Sometimes when I was coming up, and even I just recently learned how important that is, because I'm the type of person, I love to talk. Mm-hmm. I love to talk. Mm-hmm. But I had to learn as time goes by. He's got a lot of nerve. I learned as time went by that if you listen, and even if you don't listen to the talking. If you listen with the heart, then you know where the person's coming from and you know how to react to that person. Because as I greet these people at the college that I work at, there are people that I can go in and have longer conversations with, but then there are people, they'll greet me with a smile, but I can tell by listening and feeling them out, I'm okay, but I don't want a long conversation. So I just keep on going. I speak and keep on going. You have to listen.
Yeah, you absolutely need to listen far more than you speak, right? So that you can learn, because we can't assume things about each other.
Right.
Like, we can be together all day long and I don't know half the things you thought. And so those are things that, we need to speak about and communicate. And hey, Taz. So Tasmir just checked in with us on Facebook. Hey, girl, hey. So these types of things, I really do think that they're great advice for all relationships, not just relationships between you and your significant other, your partner, but who are you standing next to on the street or in the line? You know what I mean? Go ahead, Chap.
Let me confess right now too, because I've met these guys on and off in the community, and I know them through, like I said, the chaplaincy and things. If you met them and you hadn't heard their story, like I didn't do my homework or my research, I would have swore you guys been married like longer than you are old. Y'all just got that vibe, man. I would, like, if somebody asked me, I'd be like, I don't know, 50 years, 52 years, I don't know. They got that. And y'all said 5, so I was trying to be cool on the camera, like, what?
But another key thing that you said, Dr. Lovelace, you said something about plugging in. When I taught Sunday school when I lived in West Virginia, and I teach now, I used to tell the young people, serving God is just like a lamp. If you have a lamp and you just sit there and look at it, is it going to light up? No. You have to take that lamp, and I told them, for example, the socket is Jesus. You have to take that lamp, that plug, and you have to plug it in to that socket, because the socket will take it to the main line, which is God. So if you plug in to Jesus, it'll take you to God, which will teach you the love that you need in this world.
And your light will shine.
Yep.
And that's one thing. I know you remember when Chief Russell was in our class at the academy.
Oh, yes.
And that's one thing, like I wrote in my Bible, I wrote on my heart. He emphasized how when you shine, we go as chaplains, and we even in our and for some of us, it looks good on our resume. For some of us, it's a lifestyle, and for those of us who go into those dark spaces and we shine our light. Light and dark can't coexist.
Right.
But there's also no struggle. When the light comes on, the darkness is expelled.
Right.
There's no pushback. There's no fight. There's no nothing. You can see defined lines called shadows where it's light or it's dark. There's no in between. And so I think that's so important because wherever we can plug in and shine our light, we expel the darkness in that season, in that moment. And if we can stay in those spaces and continue and even replace our, like for me, a lot of what I do and my mentality in the community is grabbing my son, grabbing his cousins, grabbing my sons who are not my blood sons out here, and just whatever I'm doing, like, yo, get in the car, you're coming with me, right? And then we'll go do whatever we're doing in the community. When people ask questions like, hey, where do I set up a tent? Where can I get food? Who do I talk to? I step out the way and point to them, right? Because I need at least 2 of them to replace the one of me, right? Because I need, we can't do everything, and we all have diverse, different purposes. And if we all can, if we can get together and shine our light in one spot, and it's so bright, and there's so many lights across Baltimore, and then if we can teach these young people to replace us and maintain the light or the spotlight in a certain space, then communities will thrive and grow.
That's right. That is so true.
They will. And I think another thing, Chap, like part of it is we have to let the young people know that we're listening, like that we hear them, that your voice is important. Because I think more than anything, people get frustrated, whether we're toddlers or whole adults. We get very frustrated when we feel like people don't understand us. That's why toddlers go through their terrible twos. That's where they're learning to communicate and learning their feelings. But even as adults, it's like, the wife or the husband nagging, you don't listen to me. You're not hearing what I'm saying. I want you to wash the dishes and want to wash the dishes with me. And it's like, yeah, but I hear what you're saying, but I'm never going to want to wash dishes, even if it's with you. So like listen to the back and forth. You know what I mean? But I'm right there to help you with the dishes if you need help with them. I'm just not gonna love doing it. And we can agree to move forward with that kind of language, but it's still like in the simplest of forms. We just have to learn to listen to one another and hear one another more than we're speaking at people.
Right. And that's one of the things that we learned in our relationship. We learned to agree to disagree. Because he'll ask me to do some things, and he'll say, do you feel like doing this? I said, no, I don't feel like it, but I'll do it.
But you'll do it.
It's you're being honest. You're saying you don't feel like it, but you go ahead and do it because you care about the person.
Yes.
Say, no, I'm not going to do it. Be honest.
Exactly, because if you're not, then there's some little bit of resentment that you have, and it's not even their fault because quite honestly, he may have been fine with you saying, no, I don't want to do it and leaving it at that. So you're not doing anyone any favors by knowing exactly how you feel and then not communicating that. Now, it's one thing to be like, and then there's another thing to just be like, no, honey, I don't feel like it. But like you said, no, I don't feel like it, but I will, and I don't mind it.
I think that's hugely important, and I don't want to move past that. Being honest, I don't want to move past that at all. Like we can talk the rest of the show on that, because if you're honest, it's so much simpler, right? Like I say, being honest, or I tell the boys, being truthful. It's simple but complicated, right? It's maybe you're embarrassed to tell the truth, or you don't want to offend the other person, or there's all these different contexts and reasons why to not be 100% honest. But in that like example you just gave, because I say this all the time with my wife, because I've known her 30 years. I can be honest with her. I couldn't be dishonest with her if I wanted to. Like, let me tell you, man, and I love that about our relationship. It's so beautiful. It's like I'll give you an example. Me and my partner, we were going to go play some poker one day up at Delaware Park, and it was around the time Lord of the Rings was coming out. So my partner's like, if my wife calls, tell her we're going to watch Lord of the Rings. That buys me 4 hours. I'm like, I'm not lying for you, bro. Watch this. I told my wife, hey, Ross wants to go play poker for a couple hours. My wife said, here's $200. Don't lose it. And whatever you win, you owe me 25%. But that's the honesty, right? That's like, why would I lie to my wife? And if I have to lie to her, why is she my wife? Right?
That's right.
Like, the honesty is, and like you said with the simple example, like, will you do the dish? Do you want to do dishes? No, I don't. But then the sacrifice comes in. But I'll do them. And then by communicating, maybe the next time, James won't ask you to do the dishes because he knows you don't like to, or he'll refrain from asking you unless he's really exhausted or really needs you to do them. He'll understand you don't want to do it, and that just builds a better relationship, because then you don't put each other in compromising or resentful positions, right? Like just by being honest. It's so I love being honest with my wife to a fault, where sometimes I give her a hard no, and then we just have to laugh about it.
Right. Like that's not going to be done, and you just need to be okay with it, because that's where it stops.
Yep.
So
we have communication when it comes to that. We work together when it comes to the house. It's a joint effort.
Same here. Like a lot of our friends, like their relationships, well, she deals with the kids and he deals with the car and this happens this way. And I'm like, nope, I do not like the dishes, but I will cook all day long if I need to. But I don't want to scrub the pots. Like somebody else needs to do that, but I'll dry the dishes. So, like there's a give and a take. And thankfully, there's a balance because the things that I hate doing, he doesn't mind doing, and vice versa. So, somehow it worked out for us.
So let me ask you guys, how did you get to this point? Like, I mean, we got like 10 minutes left, a little less, because we want to make sure the Robert report is on next. So I share that with you, Flo, because he sent you a message on the chat saying that he's got a publisher as his guest on the next show at 8 o'clock. So if you want to listen in, check in, and get you connected for your book, we'll do that. But I wanted to ask, how did you guys get to this point? Like, how did you meet? Where were you at in your lives when you met, when you figured out you wanted to get married? Like, how did this evolve?
Okay. We met at Liberty Medical Center. I was a security officer. He taught exercise in the gym upstairs. And he walked up to me one day and he saw me. I was at the desk. And he looked at me, he said, "Oh my God, you are the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life." And I got the blushing. So every time he'd come in the door, he'd say something nice to me. And what happened was one day we were both catching a bus. And I said, oh, you ride the bus too? Where are you going? He told me he was going to Bon Secours to teach another class. I asked, could I go along? So I went along. So after that transpired, later on, we both were getting on the bus again. And we both were going to get something to eat. So we decided to get something to eat. Then after that, it became a regular thing, us going to get something to eat. But we ended up walking all night through Baltimore, through Fells Point, through Canton. And when the sun came up, he'd walk me home and he'd catch the bus home. Later on, years later, we lost contact. Apparently, he was working an extra job, but he didn't call me. And I thought it was over because it had been 3 to 6 months I hadn't heard from him. I said, oh, he was just playing me. So I ended up dating someone else. He ended up getting married. That fell through. And the couple of people I dated fell through. We ran back into each other. Boom, we just decided to get married. We said it wasn't going to happen again. That's it. Telling it as quick as I can.
Boom, just like that. You know what? Let's go ahead and do this.
Wanted to know when I'm gonna write the book.
Yeah, you need to unpack that in a book, because one of the things we like to encourage all of our guests, all of the people that host shows on our networks, and just everyone listening, is write a book. If for no other reason, one book can turn into 20 different streams of income through speaking engagements, through sales, this and that. But more importantly, and I impress this upon the younger generation that I have influence with, is that if you don't tell your truth, then somebody else will. And they'll erase things from history, either intentionally or unintentionally.
Right.
But like for me, my experience is that God didn't call me to be a lawyer. He didn't call me to be a judge. He called me to be what? A witness. And a witness to testify.
Right.
Testify what I've seen and what I've experienced in my life. And even though I've had my mother by my side the whole time and she can tell you about my story, no one can tell my story better than me. It's my story.
That's right.
So I encourage everyone, please write, like journal. Like I'm saying this and I'm the biggest hypocrite because Donnie's been telling me to do it for a while now and I haven't done it yet. I haven't slowed down to do it. I need to tell my story. Like we need to tell our story so that people get it from the source.
But to your point, Chap, that testimony matters. Like your story can spark something in someone else. It can incite something in someone else. It can help someone. Hold on.
Oh.
It can help. Did you hear the cop cars going by? It can help somebody else. So just put in your testimony, like you said, your narrative, your story in your language through your eyes. All of that matters. And even if you think, well, who wants to hear me? Don't worry about that, because there are absolutely people who you don't know who are interested in hearing about you. Absolutely. So we can't even tell you who they are. So just write your story and they will come, right?
Well, like James and Flo definitely inspire me to make healthier choices. I see their lifestyle, I see their youthfulness, I see their relationship, and that inspires me and my wife. And I'll tell you, the catalyst was because I've known you guys a while and I've seen what you guys do, and I'm like, man, I need to be more active, more healthy, intentionally. You started that train moving, and then there was a guest on one of our, I think, Marsha Jews had a show on the network, and she had a guest who had lost 700 pounds. She wrote a book, told her story called Leaving Large, and that was like the catalyst. I was like, wow, like I could easily be on a path in that direction. So let me, like, that was a catalyst to where I was talking with you guys before, where I started. One thing she said was that everything that comes to your lips before it goes in your mouth, ask yourself why it's going in your mouth, right? Because we want to eat our food like it's medicine, so you don't eat your medicine like your food, right?
Right.
And so with you guys encouraging me, like I started walking the dogs more because I was like, really, I need to keep up with James, man. You shame grown men. You do, man. You shame these young people, man, and you could do it all day long, and not for the sake of shaming them, but to encourage them. Like, you're nonstop out here. I love and appreciate that. And you are encouraging to me. I want to share that. And Flo, you've always, there's just love that pours out of you. Just sitting next to you in the chaplain class, it just, my spirit gravitated and was ignited by just your presence. You didn't have to say a word, but you did. And so I love you guys very much. And I thank you for.
You.
I know. Hey, I know. And that's what's beautiful about my city. That's what's beautiful about Baltimore, is that we've got so much love in this city, and it's always a privilege and a pleasure to have guests on who can share that narrative with everyone out here. Because we get a bad rap, but there's a lot of love, and Baltimore is one big family.
A lot of love.
Yep.
So much love, so much love. And it was a pleasure speaking to you guys again, because like I said, I've definitely met y'all outside.
Yeah,
we were getting fit with Mayor Brandon Scott, and Lord have mercy, it was a little cold out there. It's not as cold as it has been lately, though. Oh my goodness, I feel so bad for my people, Chap. I'm gonna have to go outside and start distributing hats and gloves even before February 19th, because this temperature dropping is crazy.
Well, we're so we'll be dropping off clothing and hygiene stuff at the Southeast Precinct. Just anybody watching, if you have any items you want to donate to the initiative, you can certainly just drop it off at the Southeast Precinct on Eastern Avenue, and just mention that they're for Sergeant Morgan Classing. But yeah, we could always use more gloves and hats and stuff. I know it's almost the end of the season, but it's still cold out here for another month or two. So yeah. And with that, I appreciate you guys' time today. Thank you so much. Such a privilege. Thank you, Quida. Couldn't do this without her, because I don't know what I'm doing out here, but she keeps me going. And stay tuned for the Robert Report on BlackUSA.News, Facebook Live, and YouTube. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See ya.